Hello, I'm Claire Smith and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to go through some autumn scents. So I've just been through my collection and picked out 12 that I think really say autumn to me. So things with vanilla, perhaps slightly boozier scents, perhaps ones with leather or with more earthy kind of tones to them. So the first fragrance I want to talk about is one that really got some hype on YouTube only recently, and that is Want by DSquared2. So this fragrance really says autumn to me because it's just a really deep vanilla fragrance. It smells like a vanilla extract and it's kind of a little bit boozy feeling as well, even though there's not really any notes to make it feel boozy. It's also got rose and ginger, and those notes just help to lift the vanilla. It makes it a little bit more interesting. The heliotrope makes it a little bit powdery in the dry down as well. I think this fragrance is really simple, but I think it would be really good for like layering with other fragrances. I think you could really amp up the vanilla in other fragrances with this one. I think also it's something that I imagine myself wearing, snuggled up at home, watching some Netflix or something, watching something scary. Like I've been watching the series 2 of You at the moment. So yeah, I'd pick this one for watching You. It's that kind of really sweet, really, really comforting fragrance. So that's Want by DSquared2. The second fragrance is one from Lolita, Lempicka, and it's Elle à la Folie. And I would say this is probably a fragrance that reflects those sort of last days of sunshine that you get in the autumn. So those last days when it's a little bit warm on your skin when you go outside, but you know that the sunshine's going to go very quickly. And this one, I think, has that really solar feeling because of the ylang-ylang note in this. And it also has amber and myrrh and citrus. So it's got that kind of warm undertone to the whole fragrance. It's a really rich, really solar feeling fragrance, and yeah, I feel like this one is helping me to catch those last rays of sunshine. So that's Elle à la Folie by Lolita Lempicka. So the next fragrance is a really strong blackberry perfume. So that's Gucci Guilty Absolute Parfum. I was amazed by this perfume. I have not really been into the Gucci Guilty line at all, but this one just smelt so totally different to the rest of the line. And yeah, it's just a beautiful blackberry scent, really, really unisex too. It feels totally in the middle. It feels like something that I would love to smell on a man. It's just so strong on the blackberry notes, but it's also got those woody notes underneath it. So it's got cypress and patchouli. It's rose, blackberry and woods. And it's just delicious. It's one of those that I just really want to keep spraying because I love the opening of it. And yeah, it's not that long lasting. I would say that it's only a couple of hours maybe on skin. But if you smell it on clothing, then it'll be there for days. Even my husband likes this one, and that's saying something. So that's Gucci Guilty Absolute Parfum. So the next fragrance is one from SJP. So I think we all know which one this is going to be. So this is Stash by SJP. This is definitely autumn for me. This one has been so popular, and I can see why. It's a real standout fragrance. It's really unexpected from a celebrity fragrance. And I must admit, I haven't been wearing this enough. I'm really going to pick this up this autumn. I bought it in the springtime, and I think that's not the season for this fragrance. But yeah, this one is sort of sage and those creamy woods again. And it's just a very interesting perfume, this one. I think if you're looking for a super feminine fragrance for autumn, this is not it. But if you're looking to smell a little bit mysterious, then maybe try this one. So I think SJP actually cited inspiration from churches, from leather, from body odour even when she was making this one. So I can really see where she's coming from with the leather and the churches. I'm not so sure on the body odour. I think some people have said that this fragrance reminds them of men after they've been working outside, the smell of men's skin after they've been doing some work. So maybe that's where the body odour comes in, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to be reaching for this one much more from now on. So this is Stash by SJP. So the next fragrance is actually one from Elizabeth Arden. So it's Elizabeth Arden's Fifth Avenue Royale. So this fragrance was so totally unexpected for me because I just had this preconceived idea of what Elizabeth Arden fragrances would smell like. And this one just totally blew me away. It's nothing like what you would expect from Elizabeth Arden at all. It's a very leathery fragrance. So I would say leather is the main note, but there's also boozy notes, there's also woody notes, and there's raspberry, and there's also incense. And I think the incense with the leather and the woods are really what comes through for me. I don't really get the raspberry so much in this fragrance. But yeah, this fragrance just totally evokes sort of gentlemen's clubs for me with the leather sofas and the drinking and the wood panelling and the smoking. So definitely one that I would reach for in autumn. And yeah, I've been really enjoying this one since I bought it already. So I'm sure I'm going to continue to reach for this one. So that's Fifth Avenue Royale by Elizabeth Arden. The next fragrance is more of a special occasion fragrance. So this one is also at the totally the other end of the price point scale. So this is Tom Ford's Black Orchid. This one to me is just so special. I just love this fragrance. I think that it's marketed to women, but honestly, I think this is totally unisex. To me, this is a very distant cousin of Angel by Thierry Mugler. It's like Angel has been rocked up a bit and made a little bit more interesting, and Angel's pretty interesting as it already is. But I think if you don't like Angel, you still could like this fragrance. But I think they're definitely related in some way or fashion. Maybe it's because of all the patchouli, I'm not sure. This one has a myriad of notes. It's a very difficult fragrance to describe. It's kind of spicy, it's kind of woody, it's kind of vanillic, it's kind of balsamic, it's got everything in it really. It's so distinctive as well. You can smell it a mile off. You know when someone's wearing Black Orchid in a room. It's just so signature scent worthy. But yeah, I think for me this fragrance is not an everyday fragrance. It's definitely a special occasion fragrance for me, but I do really enjoy it when I do pull for this one. So that's Tom Ford's Black Orchid. So the next fragrance is from a high street store, and this one is from And Other Stories. So this is Sardonyx Fire by And Other Stories. So I went into store in And Other Stories yesterday and I noticed this fragrance was back. So this fragrance is a rose fragrance primarily, but it also has a warm ambery undertone and quite a strong vanilla note as well. It also has saffron, so it's slightly spicy, and I would say that this fragrance is really perfectly balanced between masculine and feminine. It is unisex marketed. I think this fragrance makes me think of when you've been out and you've maybe had a dress on, you've been wearing a perfume, and then you've had someone with you who's wearing aftershave, and the two scents have kind of melded together. But it's kind of that smell for me, this fragrance. It really does sort of cross between the two kind of genders for me, and I think that's what I like about it. I think it sort of makes me feel like I've had a good time. This fragrance is really long lasting as well, considering it's an eau de toilette formulation. So that's Sardonyx Fire by End of the Stories. So continuing on with the vanilla based fragrances, this one is Metal Wave by All Saints. So this fragrance, just ignore the name, ignore the notes on Fragrantica, because they will just lead you astray. So this fragrance to me is basically pencil shavings in the opening. So that really kind of woody, slightly metallic, but not that metallic fragrance. And it then dries down just to be a light, fresh, woody vanilla fragrance. It's not at all like the first one, like the Want fragrance. It's not that deep, boozy vanilla. It's very much a light, fresh vanilla. I don't think this fragrance is really complicated at all. I don't think there's anything that, groundbreaking about it, but I think I just enjoy the transition between the pencil shavings and the vanilla, and it's quite a simple fragrance. It's really easy to wear. I think, again, this is really a good one for layering. I think this would really amp up the woodiness and sort of just add a light sweetness. Totally unisex again, unisex marketed fragrance. So that's Metal Wave by All Saints. So the next fragrance again is vanilla, and it's also a tonka fragrance. So it's Diesel's Loverdose Tattoo. So I think I'm actually beginning to prefer this fragrance to actually the main Loverdose fragrance now. And I think that's just because it's so gourmand. So this fragrance opens with a bit of citrus, but really the dry down is all about the rice pudding, the vanilla-y rice pudding. If you want to smell like a dessert, this is the fragrance for you. I put this in my Snuggly Scents video that I made in January, and I would say that this one is really the most likely to make you smell like a snack. You just smell like a rice pudding. It's something that someone's going to really want to snuggle up to you if you're wearing. It's just so gourmand smelling and so unexpected. You look at this bottle and you don't think you're going to smell like a custard rice pudding at all, but that's really what you get from this fragrance. So if you haven't checked this one out, go and find it. I think it's discontinued, but I think it is still quite widely available. So that's Diesel's Loverdose Tattoo. So the next fragrance is one that was really, really hyped last year, and it's definitely one of those love or hate fragrances. I've seen so many people declutter this fragrance, and I can't ever imagine decluttering this fragrance because I really do love it. And that is Zadig and Voltaire's This Is Her. It is a really distinctive fragrance. So I also put this one in my Snuggly Scents video that I made back in January. And I would say, even though I didn't grade them in that video, this is the snuggliest of the Snuggly Scents. This one is the one that is going to make people want to hug you just instantaneously. It's got a very distinctive smell and it does really quite project. I think people are going to definitely notice that you're wearing this fragrance. It's signature scent worthy, again, this fragrance. It's just a beautiful kind of chestnutty, vanilla, sandalwood fragrance, but it's got a really peppery, really interesting opening. I think even though this fragrance is called This Is Her, for me it's a totally unisex fragrance. I feel like, you know, this could easily be This Is Him as well. This fragrance for me does have one issue with it, and I think that's really why I haven't worn it as often as I perhaps would have done otherwise, and that is that if you leave this fragrance on your clothes, the next day when you come to smell your clothes, perhaps you want to wear them for a second day, you can smell this fragrance on your clothes, but the fragrance has kind of changed and morphed and it kind of smells a bit like off milk, basically. So for me, this fragrance is definitely a second day clothes wearing fragrance only. So it's definitely one that I plan, because you just have to wash your clothes as soon as you stop wearing this fragrance. It's not nice the second day. I'm just warning you. But other than that, I really like this fragrance. So This Is Her by Zadig and Voltaire. The next fragrance is one by Cacharel and it's Yes I Am. So this fragrance is described as a raspberry caramel milkshake. And yes, I would agree with that in a way, but it's also got like a little bit of spiciness about it. So it's got cardamom in it, it's got ginger flower, I think, in this fragrance. And those notes just make it a little bit more interesting. This fragrance makes me think of like kulfi and of the condensed milk and the cardamom flavouring that you get when you serve Arabic coffee. It's like Arabic coffee but without the coffee, basically, for me. And yeah, I think this fragrance is just really delicious. I think it's definitely something that you could get away with like wearing it to work, but for me it's more like a going out fragrance, really. The bottle is super fun as well, and I think that just perfectly reflects how this fragrance feels and smells, really. So that's Cacharel's Yes I Am. The final fragrance, I don't think an autumn fragrance video would be complete without this one. So this again was a hyped perfume last year and I fell for it. This is one of my first blind buys. So this is Guerlain's La Petite Robe Noire Black Perfecto. So this one, I wouldn't say it was an instant love for me. I think it's something that I had to learn to love. So I hadn't really tried any leather fragrances before I tried this one. And I would say that this is really quite a black leather. It's definitely a very dark leather fragrance. And I think people have often described this one to me as cherry and leather. I don't really get much cherry from this fragrance. To me, this is more of a powdery, rosy leather fragrance. Definitely very powdery in the dry down, very musky in the dry down. And I wasn't really expecting that from other people's descriptions. So I think that you have to go into this perhaps not even thinking that you're going to smell much cherry, because I don't get very much cherry, but I know that other people do say that they smell cherry in this. So this is also everything else that you would expect in La Petite Robe Noire. So there's licorice, there's tea, and there's also almond. People describe it as you wearing a leather jacket, and that is what it smells like. And something that I'm really not surprised is that has been so popular, because it's so distinctive. So that's La Petite Robe Noire Black Perfecto by Guerlain. So that's my final autumn fragrance. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, please press the like button and please consider subscribing if you haven't done already. So what are you going to be wearing this autumn? Please let me know down below and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!